Hi, this is log entry 140 and currently it's about 11 a.m. CST. Been quite busy as usual. I need to stop saying that, but I say it anyways because I want people to know how busy I am, I guess. I just changed my mind like twice in 2 seconds. I don't know how that even happened, but it did. I defy all laws of nature, I guess. I'm the only person that I know that does that too. It's a constant battle in my head, so... so I have been working on just like random stuff and, well, not necessarily random, it's more focused on, because yesterday I said I was going to be working on building my project more. And, so I've been focusing on that. I've been learning HTML and, learning the basics because I like to, I'm the kind of person, I don't like diving into a project. I like to appreciate the frameworks that we're given to nowadays to, I don't know, like understand, like it's kind of like me when I learned C and whatnot. Like I learned C because I wanted to appreciate the technology that we use nowadays, and how there's all these pre-built data structures within, these languages that we don't have to worry about, like linked lists and whatnot. I mean, I'm sure you can just call a function linked list, or it's just a general type within most programming languages nowadays, but you actually had to build linked lists in C. I mean, of course, they have libraries for it, so you don't really you can put it under the hood because it's still kind of nice to see, and I like C because it helps out with understanding the data structures and being closer to the hardware and whatnot. But I'm kind of doing the same thing, except I'm looking at servers and not really databases, but I was looking into TCP, which is the most common. It's called transmission, not transfer. I said transfer, but it's transmission control protocol. And that's the most common protocol used between servers and, clients and servers as well. And that's how they transmit data and talk to each other. And I was looking at SYNAC, and I don't know, like I was confused for a second about the sequences that they use for SYNAC. Syn is like synchronize, SYN, and ACK is acknowledge, and it's, if you are initializing a connection between a client and I guess you could just think of like the standard paradigm between a client and a server and whatnot, and they have their own IPs and they're either communicating through ports and whatnot. So they first start off by initializing the port and then sending a synchronize message to the server, and this the synchronized message starts with a sequence number of 0, and then for it to know that it's acknowledged, it has to know that it's iterated over 1. So the ACK number is 1. So then now the server knows that, the client knows that the server wants to talk to it, and then it sends an acknowledgement towards the. Again, I forgot to specify that there's a SYNAC process when the server or host or whatever you want to call it gets that information. It sequences it iterates over 1 typically. There are different iterators that you can use, and that's all kind of already pre-established within these frameworks and whatnot, so you don't have to talk about the specifics of what numbers they're generating and whatnot, because it doesn't start off with 1. But for simplicity, people usually just do that so people can conceptually understand it without having to worry about numbers and why they start off, what kind of like kernel they're using for a random number generator and all that shit. So during the SYNAC process, the ACK number iterates over 1, meaning that number being 1 is an acknowledgement for it, and that it's actually wishing to communicate with the client. And also there's another number that's sent to it, and another, I guess, it's probably like a byte or something. A byte's 8 bits. That's usually enough for any kind of like sequences and just holding numbers in general. I don't think you need more than that, right? Maybe. I wouldn't know. And so it sends a sequence of 0, and then it knows that through that sequence of 0, it sends an ACK of, once the client accepts both of those numbers, ACK of 1 saying, oh, okay, it wants to talk to me, and then it also has to send an ACK back to the host of 1 because the sequence was 0. So that means when it sends that ACK of 1 and sequence of 1 back to the host server, 1, it knows that it actually got that information, and 2, it knows where to start. So that sequence of 1 is where it starts. So it starts sending information from that sequence. If that kind of makes sense. and that's when it starts initializing. And you know, it could be it's bidirectional, but you can simplify it. And well, I guess it's still bidirectional, even if the host server the host server is sending information just to the computer still has to send a acknowledgement number. So if it starts at sequence 1, then it could send, I don't know, like 22 bytes of information. Then that means the sequence is 23 at that point. So then that means the client would have to send 23 back, because that would mean that it got all the information, and then now the host server knows that it doesn't have to send that information again, I guess would be a good way to say it. And that's how basically TCP works. And yeah, I guess when it finishes the transmission protocol, I guess it sends like a flag of some sorts with FIN. I think that's a flag, FIN, and it's either 0 or 1. But when that bit is flipped, I guess they have headers, so FIN is set to 1, meaning that it'll be sending the sequence of 23 back to the server, or the client server or something. And I think it's something like that in this example, at least, when it's sending 22 bytes of information. I'm looking at I want to look at the diagram because I want to know I'm saying this right. Yeah, so it sends a sequence of 23 back to the server, the client. I guess that basically means that it's saying that it's done sending the information of 22 bytes, and that sequence is sequence 23 because the first byte of information was the initialization process, I guess. And it says an acknowledgement with ACK 24, of course, back to the host server. And that's when it knows that it's I think when it sends that information, it already starts closing its port, but it still needs to get the ACK. I think it gets the acknowledgement first, but I don't think it needs to. It can because it again, this server is talking to a lot of computers at the same time, so it probably shuts down as soon as it sends that signal of sequence 23 back to it, and then it still gets the ACK somehow. Probably because the port's open. I guess it keeps the port open for it to get that signal, so it'll know what the status is with that other computer, and it'll know that it got the information regardless. So it won't, like, I don't know, but and then apparently the client computer sends another sequence to say that it's shutting down too. So I guess it stays open for a while, so it just waits for it. It keeps that port open, or at least leaves it open for this computer to talk to it through that port until it sends that last signal saying, okay, I'm shutting down too, and I acknowledge that we're done communicating, I guess. Or leaving. I guess you could think of it in a lot of ways. Of course, you could use the analogy of two people talking, but yeah, I was more into the numbers and understanding that, so I kind of understand that, but I don't know why I was looking to that earlier, but I looked at that for, I found a lot of videos and documents pertaining to it, and it seemed interesting, and I kind of understand it, but I still wouldn't consider myself to be, I'm not getting a CCNA degree, so I don't really have to know that, but it's still interesting to read about. Yeah, I mean, what is UDP? Is it like unitary? I don't even know. I forgot what UDP stands for. But it's basically, I think UDP is almost the inverse of TCP. Instead of waiting for initialization, it just sends that information to it without even checking to see if that computer got the data or not. So I think UDP is probably good for video transmission. I think people have talked about that. If you're sending like a video at each time t, it's it's setting up probably a frame, which can be kind of, I guess you could see it as sequences of bits for that frame, and it doesn't necessarily have to have each frame It's just faster because it's like a faster way of sending information. It may not be as accurate, but it's faster. Um, yeah. But aside from that, I've been, of course, programming, and like I said, I was learning HTML and CSS, and HTML is pretty easy, of course. And I have an HTML sheet just in case I may have forgotten something. But I think I store most of that into memory. I like most of it, at least when I think of HTML, especially when it's embedded HTML within a programming language. Aside from JavaScript, I'm using Go, and of course, you have to import the net HTTP module. So that's of course something you have to do because they have a lot of helper functions, and there's a handle function that deals with basically different web pages and linking them, and these it's quite abstracted, of course. I can't look at everything under the hood, but for the most part I understand it, and these handle functions map to other functions that actually output a HTML doc for those particular nodes, I guess. You can think of it as a node. There's probably a different page. You can just call it a page. Like the home page. I have a home page handle function, and I also have a about me handle function, and that handle function maps to another function that actually interacts. Well, of course, I haven't my documents are static because I've only been using HTML. I'm not using CSS or anything like that, and I've implemented buttons, which is nothing more than just having a that caret with a and then href, which is hypertext reference probably, and then of course the URL. Not even the URL. You don't have to type out the whole HTTPS because it knows it's working from root. So you just had to type in the folder. Yeah. So that was interesting, and I learned a little bit about that. And I'm probably going to look at CSS, even though I know CSS can be a little bit confusing at times, but I think it would be worthwhile to at least appreciate some of its complexities. So when I start working off of actual frameworks like Gin, or I don't know, people use Tailwind or something for live HTML stuff to make it look more nice and pretty. So people use Tailwind for that. I think that's the most common one nowadays. And I haven't learned JavaScript, but I know people also use like JS Node, and I have no idea what JS Node is, but I know it's something to do with just some kind of JavaScript framework that is probably like these other ones, except maybe it's just kind of like Go, but a better version of using JavaScript with HTML and CSS and whatnot. So there's probably just some kind of like minor amendment that they've made for JavaScript to make it more compatible with HTML and CSS. So it's probably just easier, nicer, and more convenient for the developer to use. So yeah, they have a lot of frameworks. I know Gin, I know Tailwind, I know I guess JS Node is it. Framework of some sorts. Those are the only ones I've heard. I think I'm sure I may have heard of other ones, but I can't recall off the top of my head. Yeah, I may look at I don't know, kind of like IT stuff. IT is kind of interesting. If I start learning IT stuff, I might as well just get a CCNA degree or certification. Or CCNA is, I think it has certifications. Certification for Computer Network Administration, probably. Yeah. I don't know how I just got that so quickly, but it seems like it would be that. I didn't look at now people would probably just think that I look for the acronym on the internet now. I'm actually, for some reason, I'm good at guessing acronyms, especially within a given context. And I knew it was a certificate, so that kind of blinked out the first part of it. And then I knew it was about networks, so I knew that part. And then, well, of course, if you're talking about networks, it's probably going to be with administration and then computers. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm going to keep programming. I'm going to look at physics stuff too, but I'm kind of like a little bit more fluid about what I'm looking at. I don't want to like be too rigid about my schedule or anything like that, because regardless, I am learning something, and it seems to be pretty applicable, even though I don't really. I think web development isn't as bad as I thought it would be. I like building things, I guess. I kind of like it, and it alleviates my mind a little bit, and it can be seen as, of course, when things get more complicated, it can rack up your brain. I'm just messing with like simple primitives and whatnot, and just playing around with HTML and CSS, so it's not complicated to any degree. especially when you start thinking about the more complicated web applications nowadays when it comes to dealing with scaling with the amount of users that are using it, and just like it's a whole slew of just complexities that whether it's, I mean, you could look at all like perspectives of the stack. You could look at like databases. People are working on databases and efficiency when it comes to that, and it's a whole thing. And I don't even want to talk. I don't want to pretend that I know anything about it, because I don't. Of course, I can speculate, of course, but I don't even have enough information to even speculate about the complexities dealing with web development in those areas. So it's smarter for me to just not say it, because I don't want people to take me seriously. So I was looking at Postgres as my database. Apparently that's pretty good according to my brother, so I'm going to look into that. So I at least have an idea about the database, and now I'm looking at like how to generally map my blog website. So it's going to be simple. I think I'm going to keep it simple. The landing page is probably going to have an About Me section, and then I'm just going to have a bunch of hyperlinks with like titles to, the href kind of stuff, with the actual title of the blog, and then maybe below it would be what would that be, like a paragraph? I guess you'd probably just call it a P. And I think you could have, which would actually be under a div. I think it's most likely going to be under a div, because you can't have multiple headers in one div, so you have to like section it off that way, probably. You can't have multiple headers. You can have H1, H6, sorry, that was my bad. You can have H1, H6 for headers in one div, but then I think for the paragraph, I think you can have the header and then paragraph, header, paragraph, header, paragraph. That way it would actually be pretty good, but I'd probably be using links, and then I don't know yet, because I haven't done this yet, and I'd also it would be probably a header with the link, paragraph for the synopsis, and then probably the date was posted, which will be a probably another paragraph or div. I don't know. It's probably another div. It's probably, I don't know. I don't know how to structure websites yet. So I'm looking at that, and then I'm probably gonna. I don't know if I want to add a form section to it. That sounds complicated. And then, I mean, I may add comments, and like it's not really a form, quote unquote form. It's just a comment section, and people can reply to it and whatnot. So it's not really a form. I shouldn't call it a form at all. That's misleading. So just something to keep me busy while I am waiting for another job, and I should probably, I don't know. I still think about the job that I may be getting. It takes a while for the city to go through the hiring process, so it takes about a month or so, like I said earlier. And it's not going to be that exciting, but it's a job, and it's currently keeping me stable while they work out my other interests and whatnot. So yeah. So what else? Yeah, that's mainly everything that I've been doing. I had some breakfast, of course, and all that. And I just didn't look at physics yesterday. I've been more busier with technology stuff. For some reason, I'd rather just, that feels to be more interactive for me as of now. Which is fine, I'm not going to bash myself, because I'd rather do something else as opposed to, and I mean, either way I'm being productive, like I said before. And so yeah, I'm excited to learn all this stuff. I may not seem excited right now, but it's because I roll my head, because my head's always like, it doesn't stop buzzing, so I get annoyed with it at times. It's like, hey bro, shut up. You don't have to talk all the time, head. But it never answers me. But I meditate every day, so it's calmer. It's just yeah, some days it tends to be a little bit louder in comparison to others. Yeah, so I'm probably going to keep playing with CSS and HTML stuff, and then I'm going to, if I have more time throughout the day, or if I feel satisfied with what I did with my progress when it pertains to understanding web development to some degree, then I'm probably going to do some physics stuff today too. And I'm probably going to do normal stuff like going on a walk, and I don't think I have to go grocery shopping. No, I don't have to go grocery shopping. I have a few phone calls to make, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that today. I don't really feel like dealing with having to deal with phone calls today, so I'll just wait until maybe tomorrow. I may just knock it out early in the morning, at around. I have a call pertaining to EST, or a place locating EST, so I may call it around 9. Sounds like a good time because everybody's gonna be at work by then. It's gonna be 10 over there, so I'll probably call it around 9. And I also have a phone call to make about my unemployment insurance and whatnot. I just have a few questions pertaining to that, and oh crap! I think my next certification date is pretty soon. So fuck, I totally forgot about that shit. Jesus Christ. Oh well. And the reason why I was thinking about calling you guys is because I have to get new prescriptions. I'm not sure if my eyes change frequently. I think it's starting to stabilize more, but I have to get new glasses, and I'd rather just have a updated prescription as opposed to the. Well, I mean, I'm going to be using the old prescriptions, but I need to get new glasses, and I have to go to America's Best for that, and I need my prescription for that. So, yeah, that's just another thing on my to-do list that I have to worry about. And this winter, I'm getting a few jackets. I have a lot of just random stuff that I need to do pertaining to adulting and whatnot, but yeah. I don't know. I think we'll keep it short, as in 20 minutes. I don't think most people consider 20 minutes to be short for a video nowadays. I did 45 minutes 2 videos ago, and yesterday I did 35. Well, no, sorry, that was like 31 or something. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty long. That's like half podcast length, and this is me just blabbering without any kind of organization. So yeah, structure, I guess. I don't know. I was thinking about it. There's another word I was thinking about, but I can't find it. Anyways, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.